do this when I'm bored. I'll like take a piece of paper and start ripping it.
Why are you bored?
I'm like learning, but yeah, I just need something to do with my hands.
Okay. That's better. I used to cross my fingers really bad.
I end up with a mess, but it's okay.
I end up with no fingers. Good.
Oh my god.
More people?
There's like 37 people.
Damn. Oh, WEHack. By the way, those masks.
Shania.
What?
I just had a there. The masks I had, I usually twist them like this so they tighten over here.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know if that's fine.
I was thinking about that.
Wait, why do you twist them?
Because like those
They're too
masks
big
on
for
my
a
face
face.
are pretty big, so that way it just makes like the corners that are open more exposed.
Your AirPods are in the way.
Oh yeah, I feel that.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hi everyone. I think Victoria might have just gotten disconnected. So, there will be a little bit of hold up. Okay. Bye. Yes. Just now. Just a few seconds ago. Okay. Ma'am.
So Jupyter Notebook is a little bit different from other programming environments, and that's
Sorry. And guys, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask questions and talk about it. You're good. You guys can talk, by the way. I'm like muted.
Tell Tiffy.
Yeah. Yeah, Mama, you're not invited.
Hmm. Can't believe there are 36 people in this workshop. Fantastic.
The breeze is nice. because she looks at me, and then she's like, oh, she's sitting up straight. Yeah, I just feel like uncomfortable if I'm not.
Inside of a list. So if you want to pull a value from a dictionary, in this example, you take the dictionary name, and then just like for listeners in square brackets, but instead of giving it a numerical one, you use that key value. So in this case, asking for the school UTD. All right, so I've created this dictionary for you, and I want you guys to try to figure out how you would get the second element from the count value. All right. I see someone sent in an answer. Several people. All right. So this example that Anil sent is not only finding that value, but printing it so we can see if we're correct. So we're saying, let's look in my dictionary. Let's find the value associated with count. Oh, that value is a list. Let's get the second one. And yep, that pulls the value of 2. And then you put the variable name inside, and it'll tell you what variable type it is, function, and tell me what kind of variable this is. And yes, that this is asking data types for value and have values associated with it that are integers and strings. The only rules for dictionaries are that the key has to be a string or an integer. An integer divided by another integer is not always an integer, so it automatically turns the answer into a float. So that's weird for people who are familiar with other languages where the division of 2 integers is still an integer. So, like for example, if I did 17 divided by 3, some different languages would still give me 6 instead of 6.33. All right, so here's some more built-in functions in Python. You can take the absolute value of something. You can sum all the elements in the list. Keep in mind that means everything in the list has to be a number. Same for these. You can take the minimum and maximum of numerical lists. Or you can create lists within a range of numbers. So this one is a little bit confusing. You just got to think about it for a second. If I said range 0 to 10, in steps of 1, it would give me a list of integers 0 through 9. And then a shortcut, if you know you want an integer list from 0 to something, from 0 to 10, I would say range 11, because it doesn't include that end value. Let's see. There is a modulus function in Python. I just haven't included it here. There's a really long list of all of the built-in Python functions you can find. I didn't link it here, but it's easy to find. All right, so I want you guys to use several of these built-in functions and find the sum of the minimum and maximum of this list. So you got to start out by telling it what the list is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then do some math on it. First find the minimum, then find the maximum, then sum them. All right, let's try what you just sent. All right, so you called the list numbers. And we're saying the least value is the minimum of that list. Greatest value is the maximum of that list. Tell me what the sum is. All right, 1 plus 4 is 5. That looks good. All right. Moving on. So I mentioned that Booleans are a type of variable where they're either true or false. And then there's a branch of math where you can do work on all Booleans, but they're also important when you just want to evaluate statements like less than, greater than, or whatever. Like say you have a bunch of data and you want to compare a bunch of values and only do math when this value is less than that value, but not when it's greater, something like that. So the way you can do comparisons in Python looks almost like you do in regular math. You have a less than or equal to, and so on. If you want to test if something is equal to something else, you use 2 equal signs, or if it's not equal, an exclamation point and an equal sign. Where you set a variable equal to the value of some expression like this, it'll take on either true or false. So in this case, 3 is less than or equal to 7, so test comparison will be true. All right, so I want you guys to try to write out this long expression. Actually, I'm going to make it a little shorter. Let's just do the first part. So oh, and if you want to say and or not, it's literally just those English words. All right, so how do we evaluate this statement? So I'm going to say my true-false statement equals something with those operators. right, so it's going to be not, and then something in parentheses. And notice that Jupyter Notebook turned this from black text into bold green text because not is a special word in Python. All right, I'll just go ahead and type it. So we're wanting to find the value of not 20 is less than or equal to 19. So 20 is less than or equal to 19 is false, but then not of that is true. Oh, I need to print it. And sure enough, that's true. Yeah, I'm glad you finally got Anaconda downloaded. It does take a while. All right. So I mentioned earlier that you don't have to add semicolons to the end of Python lines like you do in other languages. Those other languages use semicolons to help the program know where each line ends. Python doesn't do that. Instead, so what we've done so far is we've just been typing things on individual lines, and Python knows that when you have a line break, that's a new line. But then in structures that require several lines, you need to indent things so it knows where the structure starts and ends. And the first kind of structure that's kind of your own function that you can create is called a while loop. And this is something that will evaluate until a condition you give it is false. So in this example, I defined two variables. These are just starting points, so they're both 0. And I'm saying while the sum is less than 10, I want to do this part that's indented. So while this variable is less than 10, we're going to add a number to it. And then I'm using that string formatting at the bottom to tell us what the final sum and the final number are. So we're starting with this number being 0, and then we're going to add 1 to it each time the loop evaluates, and then add it to the sum again. So the result of that is that the sum is 10, which is when the loop stopped because the sum was no longer less than 10. Yeah, you can get all of these, although I haven't. All right. So I want you guys to try to make a while loop. You can copy paste this code above and then change it to do the function I have in this task. So your starting number is going to be 100, and then you're going to subtract 7 over and over until the number is less than 30. All right, and I see we have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to do these last two examples with you and then show you what's inside the last Jupyter Notebook. All right, does someone have code for me? Maha, someone is asking if the session is recorded. That I don't know. All right, so we're starting with a number that is equal to 100, and we're going to do this over and over again until this is false, meaning that number is less than 30. So we're going to print it, and then subtract 7 from it. I see you're using advanced syntax here where minus equals means subtract 7 from it. But another way to do it would be just subtract 7 from the variable. All right, so it starts with 100, subtract 7, and then the final number is 30, because after that, this loop would stop. All right, another kind of loop is a for loop, which is similar, except it's going to run a set number of times, as opposed to when a condition is true. So has similar syntax. You give it a condition and then indent the stuff you want it to do. And so this loop is summing the numbers from 1 to 10. Remember, this built-in function range takes a lower limit, an upper limit, and creates a list with this numerical step. So in this case, it's counting from 1 to 10 in steps of 1, because it doesn't include the upper limit. So if I wanted to create a loop which adds the even numbers from 0 to 100, I would start out with, or I would give myself a starting number, which is 0, and then say for I in range, I'm going to say 51, because I want the numbers 0 to 50. My sum equals my sum plus, that's how we add something to a variable, plus I times 2. And then at the end, let's see what it gives us. All right, and I can confirm that that is the sum of the even numbers from 0 to 100. Important in hackathons is learning how to write your own functions, because